Would you like to play a rousing game of hide the pickle? Well, you're not allowed anymore, as Disney pulls a transgender storyline from the upcoming Pixar series Win or Lose, which starts streaming in February. Apparently it was supposed to start streaming in January, as this article goes on to say, but it was moved to February due to the success of Inside Out 2, and they are now instead going to push up a sort of kind of related series something in the month that they were supposed to be releasing this. And incidentally, the success of Inside Out 2 is why this happened, I guarantee it. So, a spokesperson for Disney confirmed that the story arc was removed and provided the following statement to The Hollywood Reporter. When it comes to animated content for a younger audience, we recognize that many parents would prefer to discuss certain subjects with the children on their own terms and timeline. The Trump effect is in full swing here, as we are winning without a question of a doubt. We are heading in a more conservative direction, thank God, and Disney, amusingly enough, is kind of leading the charge on it, frankly. The characters remain in the show, but a few lines of dialogue that referenced gender identity are being removed. A source closer to Win or Lose said the studio made the decision to alter course several months ago. Wow. I wonder what was happening around about that time. Perhaps a presidential candidate being debated out of the race and being switched out for someone that nobody actually voted for in the first place. Who knows? Disney declined to comment or give any further details. So, this is absolutely in relation to Inside Out 2. So, we covered this on the channel previously. Inside Out 2 was supposed to have a gay storyline where the main character, a young girl, was supposed to develop romantic feelings for another girl, and that was supposed to be one of the big reveals, that really so has been alleged, rather credibly so, on multiple occasions. And I can believe it. The movie did have a sort of kind of feel as if that was somewhat on the horizon. There was definitely some build-up seeming to suggest it, and I can see why the people on the opposite side of the aisle were also expecting it. And when we also had the leaks coming out from the studio saying that Disney itself basically hung over their shoulders going like, no, that is too sexual, pull that out, no, that is gay, take that out, and so on, seems to pretty much confirm it. And this, of course, was very much so Disney's reverse canary down the coal mine, right? Because The Acolyte, the Star Wars show, which flopped spectacularly, was the one in the opposite direction. That was them going, okay, you've been telling us for years now that the wider audience is out there, and if only we would cater to it, we would see massive returns. We've been doing it, and yet nobody seems to be coming. In fact, we seem to be frightening off the majority of our customers. What's going on? And the activists would yet again cry, it's because you didn't commit enough to the bit. You've got to go all in. You've got to have all the consultants, all of the cultural critics on board. You've got to go full hog, and that was The Acolyte. It was them going all in on DEI, on diversity and on wokeism, up the wazoo on every level, lesbian space witches and more included. It failed. Inside Out 2 was the reverse of that. It was a show where they actually went in the exact opposite direction. They went out of their way to not put anything in overtly wokeist, and what even could be perceived as woke was pruned out with a merciless knife. This also is the reason why I kind of believe the previous rumors about them pruning out pieces of wokeist content from video games like Mass Effect 5, for example. I don't know if I believe the idea that they're going to patch it in later, but I absolutely think that they are screening for anything that can be seen as woke, because Inside Out 2 was an enormous success. It proved, without the shadow of a doubt, without years of market research or trying to figure out where the audience is, that this is popular. It sells. People go to watch this in the cinemas. Families go to watch it, as it had a slow start, as people were like, I don't know. But as the positive word of mouth spread, the reward started streaming in. That is why this is happening right now. This is again Disney going, okay, it can work for a movie. It can work for part 2 of a major movie, but maybe that was a coincidence. Maybe it was simply sold on the strength of the title, Inside Out 2, the second installment in the franchise. Maybe that was it, and I'm sure the activists are arguing the very self-same thing within the company. No, it wasn't because you pruned out the wokeism, it's just because it was a genuinely just good story, you know, and you know, it was the second part, and Inside Out 2, you know, it sold on its name, and so on. This is going to be that again, where they're going to take something that is independent, that hasn't got another basis for success in it, really, and they're going to see, does this do well too? And mayhaps it will. At the end of the day, if there is no wokeism in it, then it will largely fail or succeed based simply on the quality of the product. See, that's the thing. We have seen examples now recently in the Indiana Jones game, for example, of a product that flopped largely because of its negative PR reputation. Now, it may recover because it's receiving a lot more good PR now, but it clearly frightened off a lot of early adapters and early purchasers, with the game peaking at like 12,000 players, which is diddly-dick nothing for a major release of that scale, with that IP and with that much obvious development budget behind it. The mere suggestion that it might be woke was enough to ruin it. And with, again, the massive rise of other games that aren't that, it is blatant to see for the entire industry that the age of woke is over. It is dead. What they need to do now is figure out a way to actually appeal to the audience that is out there, and that is kind of the difficult part, because they've frightened off all of the conservative writers. They're not in Hollywood anymore, or well, Disney, Pixar's, etc. They're not really in the business. Many of them have maybe even gone into business for themselves, in fact. So it's going to take them some while to get back to it, which is why this was clearly a show that was rewritten. So they mentioned here, the character remains in the show, but a few lines of dialogue that reference gender identity are being removed. So they'd put this in to Panda as a checkbox. Like, okay, we've got our little team here, the Pickles, hence the opening joke. You've got all of the usual representation, you've got the big dad dude, you've got the little emo weird kid, you've got the kid with glasses, you've got the black chick with the officially approved hairstyles, of course, you've got the variety in characters there, so everyone can self-insert themselves. Perfectly fine, nothing wrong with it. This is America after all. But then, they also need to tick the box about gender representation. I bet you it was probably that one. Probably that one. Or maybe that's too obvious. Maybe, that one or that one. That would be my bet. Yeah, either that one or that one. Yes. And then, Disney got a herd of that, and they tried out the previous test, Inside Out 2, it succeeded, and then they went back in and got like, okay, we're gonna remove that, because it was probably never a major part of the storyline either. In fact, many of the Disney products that has been sunk by this haven't had it as a huge focus. Now, Lightyear failed because of 1, the negative PR from the lesbian kiss, and 2, for not having Buzz Lightyear play Buzz Lightyear. That was probably the even bigger of the two whammos, really. And Disney as a general company, well, so Snow White is not going to do very well. Generally speaking, their reputation is in the absolute gutter. They barely survived a legal fight with DeSantis, who is now returning, of course, to Florida, eager to rebuild his reputation in the hope of another presidential bid. And Disney's his most successful chewing toy, really. Every time he goes after Disney and succeeds, his poll numbers go up. Disney obviously knows that they are in a rather precarious position, politically, culturally, and economically. They are a company that exists purely off nostalgia. That's what their parks are. It is the memory of the Disney that used to be. And if they're going to future-proof themselves for, hell, we're not even talking the next decade, etc., but a company like that wants to future-proof itself for the next 50 years plus, they're going to need to reverse course very, very, very hard. And fortunately for them, all they really have to do is stop doing the nonsense. It's that simple. We already had the Disney we loved. We already had it. They already existed. All they need to do is go back to it. And granted, we didn't know what we had back then. I swear to you. I rewatched Hercules the other day, and God, it is so good. It is so goddamn good. And that was critically panned at the time. including accusations of cultural appropriation of the Greek people by not accurately representing Greek myth. And I'm like, oh god, we didn't know what we had. We had no goddamn idea. Like, part of this nonsense was actually our fault for not valuing the absolute treasure we had, because we just kind of assumed it would get better. Oh well. Oh, lesson learned for at least the next 10 years, I do suppose. Oh, hi boy. But I view this as absolutely nothing but a massive smashing win here, because it signals loud and clear that Disney, the company, one of the largest and the most progressive, is full backpedaling mode right now before the Trumphalophagus has even planted one enormous orange ass cheek in that beautiful little chair in the White House. It can only get better from here. And I hope to see this extend over to their live action as well, as right now, as I said, they're testing things. This was easier to change, so that's what they do change. Meanwhile, they're going to continue to push the ideology in other things for a while because, as I've said previously, these companies want to kind of pet both kitties along the hairs now. They're afraid that Woke still has a lot of institutional power, so they don't want to upset it too much. But at the other time, they also say that it's not earning money, so they want to skip that boat without upsetting it. They're essentially trying to switch boats mid-river. It's a dangerous maneuver, but a necessary one. And hey, if they fail, I don't know, I might enjoy that too. And if they succeed, it seems like a win-win situation, frankly. Either Disney burns, yay, or I get good entertainment, yay. It's the beauty of my position. You really can't lose. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching. I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.